So we're continuing talking about the Delray property and what it took in order to do it. So we actually closed on this property from New Jersey, and we did everything remotely. So the title company was in Sarasota, and we closed right here with our local title company. We had the notary there. Basically close out the notarize all the documents so that we can send it off to the title company out there in Florida. It went really smooth. I mean, we used a mortgage company here, a title company here, or title company there, and the whole process went really, really smoothly, and we were able to get it done. So now is really when the fun part began for us, because really before we actually even closed on the property, I mean, we knew we were buying this house regardless. So I mean, the numbers all make sense. It was like a no-brainer for us. So we had been shopping for furniture for this property. We went back and forth. It was like, should we buy furniture there? Should we buy it here? So what we did was the big pieces that we felt like were going to be a little more difficult to find, or that we were just not going to have the time or manpower to purchase down there, we actually bought here and staged it all in our garage. We basically just drove around for 3-4 days and purchased as much stuff as we can. So here we got couches, nightstands, chairs, stools, dressers, the TV stand thing, and as much of like linens and a bunch of the little things like pots, pans, plates, like all that stuff. So we purchased the majority of that here, and we staged it all in the garage. We got a U-Haul pod, so they dropped it off in our driveway. We packed it all up, and they took it away. Now, we did that about 2 weeks prior to closing, and we had them, it stored in their warehouse until it shipped out. So it was actually supposed to get there a couple days after we actually closed on the property, but it was a little bit of a nightmare. It came in the day we were supposed to be walking out of the house there, and like basically beginning what our actual vacation was in Florida. So we packed the U-Haul pod. It went down there. We packed up the SUV, and I actually drove it down on the auto train this time, just to bring down a truckload of stuff. We were planning on being in Florida for an extended period of time anyway, and between the flight and what the car was going to cost, I mean, the only thing that it really cost me was time on the train. So took the train down, drove down. I mean, it goes out of Virginia, and it lands right in Sanford, which is right outside of Orlando. Drove another 3 hours down to Delray and started unpacking the car. And we also had all of our beds and mattresses shipped down there. So when we arrived there the day of, they had already delivered all mattresses and beds. So that was actually the easiest part, was getting that stuff there on time. So when we got there, we were able to unpack all the beds and stage all the furniture in the rooms and everything like that. There's a couple things that I would have that really are important when you're getting down there. Are one, we had the whole place painted. So just making sure your painter is getting started on time and getting done in a timely manner is important. We also are having a patio put in the backyard for the time being before we put the pool in. The backyard was just atrocious. It was something that we needed to have done in order to really get the property up and running, and where we felt like it was going to be in a place where it's a place that we would like to go and stay. I mean, if we're going to South Florida, I want to have some outdoor space and some things that I can like relax and do outside and just enjoy the weather as much as possible. I mean, most people going down are going to not really stay in the Airbnb as much as you think they're going to, but they're also renting a house because they want the comfort of home and to be able to really stay there, use the amenities, and have have it feel like home and not feeling like they're staying in a hotel where they're confined to this one little room, and anything that they need they have to go out of the hotel for. So we're trying to make it as nice as possible. So it's gonna pay for itself. It should start renting right away. So the couple things that you really need to do is just managing your vendors from afar is a little bit tricky. So it's just really finding the right people, doing your homework on them, making sure that you're vetting them out and talking to people, who's used who, like those things are important. So there's a couple people that you really need to put in place even before you're down there. And this is kind of the mistake that I feel like we made. And some of it you kind of couldn't really do from afar. You had to really be there in order to really get a good feeling of the whole thing. So the two people are your cleaner and a good handyman. The handyman, I feel like, is really key. Like, because when we walked out the door, there's a punch list of things that we still need to get done that we haven't gotten done yet. So I had to scramble to find somebody in order to finish like a handful of things that just needed to get done that I wasn't able to get done before I had to walk out of the door and close it up to leave to come back. So we really just needed to make sure that those things were done and in place. It's not the end of the world for us. I mean, they really weren't huge deals that needed to get done, but they're things that we felt like that needed to be put in place before we could have a person come in and actually rent the place and really feel 100% comfortable. Those are the things that we really need to have done at this point. But I mean, so those are the two people that you really want. The cleaner, when we were down there, we had it all lined up where we met a bunch of cleaners down there. So that was actually pretty smooth. So we were able to get all that stuff done, and we have a cleaner ready to go. Actually, we have two really good cleaners ready to go. And that's important, is to have more than one person, just so in case something happens to one, you always have a fallback. Both of them were familiar with Airbnb and how they have a process. These people actually had their own process on how they wanted to handle Airbnb as well. So I thought that was cool. It gave me a little bit more insight into how that whole thing is going to work and everything. But it's been interesting so far. I mean, but we're about 90% there right now. We have a couple little things that we need to get done. And once we do that, we'll be able to launch our listing on Airbnb, and we'll probably put it on VRBO too. But yeah, I mean, so we're going to launch our listing and get it out to the public, and hopefully we'll start seeing some revenue come into the property fairly quickly. I mean, we're about to go into the season here in South Florida, so I don't think that we're going to have any real problems renting the property out. Weather here in the Northeast is starting to get cold, and that's when people start to go to Florida. So we're ready to rock. And, if you have any questions, comments, please feel free to leave them. I'm happy to answer any questions. You guys can always give me a call as well. Talk to you soon. Have a great day.